Hi there, this is Craig Shacklett with Trio360. I'm here in beautiful Canyonville, Oregon at Seven Feathers Casino Resort, and want to introduce I'll let our two special guests introduce themselves. So why don't we start with you, Anita?
My name is Anita Johnson. I'm the Assistant Marketing Director here at Seven Feathers Casino Resort.
And I'm Nic Minor. I'm the Executive Casino Host at Seven Feathers.
All right, well, Nic, I know you were here ever since the beginning with Trio, so why don't you, how long has Seven Feathers Casino Resort had Trio?
Just over 2 years now, and yeah, very happy.
Well, so why don't we start with you? How does Trio touch your role?
It's in so many ways. The most immediate one I can think of is just oversight of the team, the ability to see everything that's going on with 100% transparency, and also not just to be able to catch the problems and do corrective actions, but also everything's a teaching moment. So I can see, hey, here's the moment where this conversation derailed. Simple change in phrasing would have made all the difference, and you can pick it apart piece by piece in a way that makes sense to them, where it's like you can see the flow of every conversation. Here's where it's going bad. But also, one of the biggest pitfalls of hosting in general is the he said, she said. That's not an issue anymore. I can tell you exactly what you said. And as soon as I show you, like, oh, you said you understood, it just shuts it down right away, which I've never been able to do as a host before. So there's always something to say, but Trio prevents those pitfalls from happening.
Wonderful. Well, I definitely want to drill into that a little more later. That's awesome. Anita, how about you? How does Trio touch your role?
So I was really impressed with Trio at Seven Feathers when I first got here, because it really is a game changer in how you communicate to your guests, right? So in the old school of casino host days, you were picking up the phone and plugging away at your list, and it was a bunch of manual, like I'll say 1990s type, going through your Excel sheet and picking out your players and making a phone call, leaving a message. Maybe they'll call you back. Maybe they won't. How many calls can I do before I get tired and decide to go lunch? So Trio is really a game changer, because what it does is it takes all of the communication that you have with your guests and it puts it into one easy-to-use platform. So right now, if I'm a host, I can put down the phone. Not that you always have to put down the phone. You should always be picking up a phone as a host. But I can put down the phone. I can open up the Trio workbook or my page, and I can decide to say happy birthday, for example, to some of my players, make a little group for myself, right? And I don't need any special help for this. As a host, I can just do this. I can just say, okay, I want to say happy birthday to some of my players, and just blast them out a little text message or an email. I can easily go in there and find players who need things. I can, as a manager, so that's from the host side, which is beautiful. As a manager, I can easily say, okay, we have a big weekend coming up. I want to capitalize on something. So we're going to create a campaign page in Trio that will immediately get responses. And that's really part of the big game changer, is you have immediate mass texts or messages that go out that you get responses from quickly. You're not waiting for another phone call and another phone call and another phone call to be made, and maybe people are home. I also feel like in today's world, the communication is so much different, isn't it? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't like getting a phone message. I don't want to answer phone messages. I'll read a text. Mm-hmm. Right?
And you respond at your leisure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not only that, but here's the powerful part, is when I respond, I can just immediately get a room. I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to wait for a host to be available. I don't need to have my host available. My host is on vacation. I hope someone can help me. No, I can immediately get a room just from that. So it really, Trio takes it up to the next level, where now where it touches my role is I can, strategize a weekend and build out a weekend and use Trio as a tool, but I can also start to manage the tasks of the host so that they are putting more time into actually building players instead of doing call out for an event or, try and search for this or try and do that. And I know that you guys are always working on new tools and new things to help the host, which we love each one of them. And, So for me, that's really where the majority of the benefit is right there. Like, I know that other casino managers and operators out there know what I'm talking about. Like, you have to meet your player or your guest where they're at. They're on their phone, they're doing text messages, sometimes they're doing emails, but they really don't want to talk to you on the phone much anymore, right? And if they do, that's fine. Trio will still capture that, and we'll still get back to them. But I think that's where the big benefit is for me.
To add to that, the moment's notice part is like throughout any campaign you do marketing, there's always that moment of, I wish I would have done this or said this at the last minute, or I wish I could get this message out. Now that's nothing we worry about. As soon as we think about it, it's like, we should let them know this. Or even if it's something as simple as the show changed, now it's starting at 5:30. Like, that used to be to let 1,000 guests know that it's changed a half hour, all hands on deck for an hour. I can send it out in 2 minutes and then respond to all follow-up questions within another 5. So, and that's with one person. That's not the entire team. So,
it's very easy to use. You're in there, you're out, and
lets you spot check and do the tweaks to your marketing fast.
You can schedule it, you can set it up ahead of time, you can do it now. So,
and one thing I think y'all do a great job of is, one, acting quick. You guys are very creative and you get messages out, but you also use the offer page. Anita, you touched on that. So how have y'all leveraged Trio offer pages to really, I guess, enrich the message you send out to players?
Yeah, so without telling everybody all our little super cool secrets, because I'm not going to.
Yeah, of course.
They're really just the flexibility of the product is what I'm amazed with. So I can decide that if we want to do a campaign page, like it was called an offer page, I changed that just because wording is important, and we have offers that go out, like the direct mail offers and things. So I don't use offer, I use campaign.
Smart. Yeah.
So the campaign page is what we use if we want to do regular communications to guests and maybe invite them to certain things created just for VIPs, or maybe we have a group of them that we're trying to get to do something. We'll create a page for those. We'll put, all, and the flexibility of it, I think that you guys have made easy, because I can literally plug almost anything I want to into that campaign page, right? Mm-hmm. So the sky's kind of the limit. And if you give me a blank canvas and a page, we're going to be calling you every other weekend. Can you do this? Can I add this? Can we do that? And I think we do. I think we bother you pretty regularly.
No, I wouldn't call it bothering. We love partners like y'all that are creative and want to see what it can do. So you guys have been a joy to work with. So I want to go back to something you touched on, Anita, about how like the host game has kind of changed. More and more communication is moving to text or not just picking up the phone, because a lot of people don't want to answer the phone. With that comes challenges from management perspective, where you kind of have to take people's word for it if you don't have the right tool of like, how much activity are you actually doing? So maybe you could talk about how Trio has made kind of accountability and management easier from that perspective.
Yeah, and I'm going to have Nic tag in here, but the accountability piece is really important. It is, and it's typically been hard to track. You take people's word for it. Oh yeah, I made 100 contacts today, and I got 30 people booked, and so all of the guesswork and all of the he said, she said, like you said, that's gone. The numbers are there; they're quick and easy to look at. Like we've got your trip calendar in there. We can see how many rooms are booked. We can see which hosts book them. We can see not only how many hosts are responding, but the time it took for them to respond, and that's rolled up in regular reports for you. But I'm going to turn over to you, because you're dealing it more directly than I am.
That's something I deal with a lot. But definitely before, especially when it comes to monitoring any kind of host department, there's always that, okay, well, I have to log everything that I do so I can make sure it's working. And in the past, you've seen, oh, sure, I did that. Let me just check off that I did that. And it's like, I don't really think you did that. But now everything you do is logged. I can see, you had this many calls today. I can see how long the calls were. the text messages. I can read through all of them. I can get reports that, a host had a question come in and they didn't have time to answer it and they just got rid of the question without answering it. I'll get a report for every single one of those. So I can keep on getting on top of the pitfalls and the things that were slipping through the cracks. And then also going in with how fast it is to book a room and how it's monitored. Also, I can see down the chain what booking agent booked it. It was changed at this time for what reason. I can kind of backtrack to see, something fell apart. Where did it fall apart? How can we make it better? And that makes life so much easier. Especially there's a lot of busy work involved when being a host because you have to document every single little piece of it. And then it makes even more busy work for me because I have to verify that all those things happen. Now I can just run my reports and just see, look at all my host metrics for today. Like, this is how many calls they made. Here's how many rooms they booked, just across the board. And it gives me a lot more time to do more important things. So that's the big one, is that it saves
and I know
so
I
much.
give them a lot of work, so that's, I appreciate
it's a
it
good
too.
thing Trio works so well, or I'd never accomplish it.
You touched on the booking agent being able to see that accountability. I know that's something that a lot of people that switch to Trio maybe don't realize how many things were falling through the cracks or how long it took to get a room booked, and they're like, wow, that's so much easier. So maybe you could touch on kind of what the booking process was before and then what it is now. I'm
happy to explain that. It's kind of like the difference between when man invented the wheel and we were just pushing rocks around. So, but I know there's lots of different ways that hosts will do booking. But for us, it was pretty simple. We need a room booked. You call the hotel and you book it. It comes back to us. Then we call the guests and let them know, give them their information. And that's all well and good until a Saturday night show night hits and you have a VIP diamond trying to get your last suite in, and it's almost easier to run down to the hotel and run and book it in person because you'll be waiting in that queue forever. I'll tell the story. The very first time I booked a room in Trio, we had just gone live, and I went home and I was on my couch and my guest texted me, "Hey, I need a room for tonight." And I'm laying sideways on my couch. And I hit book tonight, suite, go. And then 30 seconds later, I get a confirmation that pops up. Send. And then there's a confirmation, and then they send me all these, "Hey, that's great, that's awesome." Since then, we've made it easier, and it automates the response. So now I hit 2 buttons, it goes off. A couple minutes later, it gets booked. They automatically get sent the message. Depending on what they say, they may even get a more customized response back. So it's really sped that process through just exponentially, and just to be able to see exactly how many rooms we booked for what day, and then every time you have lists of people in Trio, just about any time you see a list, you can create a group off that list. So if I go back and see, okay, everyone went to this event last year, the very first people I want to talk to are the VIPs that went last year. Send them a customized message like, "Hey, you did this show. You want to do this show too?" Like, "Of course I do." And it's like, "Oh, great. I don't have to do all the grunt work into figuring out who went last year. It's all there." So it makes it all super streamlined. So.
Yeah, and operationally, it smooths out the any friction and operations between the hotel and the host department. Typically, that can be kind of a tough one to navigate sometimes because the host can be very demanding, rightly so, in getting the VIPs in, and then the hotel is trying to handle the traffic they're handling, and they're in different worlds, and we have, typically we would have to wait for the hotel to book it and then try to get a hold of the hotel to get a confirmation number. So again, going back to an older school or an older system of how things are booked. And I think that on the operational side, that's wonderful because it smooths that out. But also, like Nic was explaining, his part of it was cool, but even better for the guest. Like the guest, we just look like heroes because, we just got him a room just like that. All he had to do was text something. And on the campaign pages, you have a built-in button that says "Book my room now." So very simple. It's even that much simpler for the guest, right? Like we build
Absolutely.
A campaign page. We got an event. We got a thing going on. We build a campaign page. We send it out. The VIP opens his message or his email. He says, "Book my room now," and we're done. it's beautiful, you know.
Those pages are a sandbox too. So I'm not going to say all the things we use them for, but we use them for way more things than just, hey, do you want to come to this event?
Right.
We do. You can use it in a million different ways. I used it to send out a Christmas card to myself personally for my family. It's like, probably shouldn't have said that on camera, but it looked great and they loved it.
Can we edit that?
Anyway, but there's a million and one things you can do with it. And as soon as you put me in a sandbox and show me all the tools and how they work, the first question I'm asking is, wait, can I do this? And it's like, oh, yeah, I can. Yeah. I can do this. Can I do this too? Like, oh, no, I can. Like, that just blows the lid off of it. So you're really limited to your imagination because it's just, and I don't know how to create a web page or anything, but by the time I'm done with it, it looks like I just made a web page. The first time I showed it to, like the director, he looked at me and was like, you made this? I'm like, yeah, in like 5 minutes. Like, I made it fast. So it's just, you can use it however you can imagine how you can use it. And it works. I was just about to jump into some secret sauce. You should do this. It's really great. But there's a lot of things you can do beyond just face value of what you can do with it.
Yep. And it'll be, the cool thing about that, though, is it'll be different for every property. The things we're doing here don't necessarily work at every property, right? So I think that's a cool thing about the product, too. A lot of products out there are sort of cookie cutter. They cookie cutter you, and that's kind of annoying sometimes, right? So you have enough flexibility built into the product that we can make it work for us. You know, we have a certain situation or a certain thing that we're trying to do with our players. We can totally use Trio to help support that campaign or effort.
I think y'all have been super innovative, and maybe you could touch on how the Trio team's been to work with when you have ideas. How's that turnaround time been, or how responsive has the Trio team been to your ideas?
I'm gonna take over this one. Okay, so especially right at the get-go, I loved Trio, but every once in a while I would like to, I wish that it was like this or little tweaks. They're done. We'll have a meeting over Zoom. Before the end of the conversation's over, I can already see the IT guy just plugging away and fixing it, and then we're halfway through, and it's like, okay, that thing you want, it's done. It's like, oh, hey, cool. And now, okay, I have a big, grand idea that has nothing to do with anything you guys currently have, and I just say, hey, this is how we currently do this, and it's a pain. Is there anything you guys could do to help? And maybe a week later, completely redid how we do VIP tickets for events. And it's insane how much time is dedicated from my life during the week of a VIP show. It is all hands on deck, and man, it's just so easy now that we can, if we need to do a VIP event tomorrow from scratch, I can make it happen in 45 minutes and have it all sent out and ready. And so anytime that I've brought so far, hey, I would like this or like this, you'll not only give me what I asked for, but it's also normally a lot better than I thought, because you already see if we did that, I bet we could do this too, and it's like, that's a great idea. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing is just how fast you guys do it and how much way above expectation it's been. And these guys are in Texas, we're in Oregon. I know there's a time difference, but we've had some emergency situations happen, like, hey, something bad happens and we're wondering if we can use this to fix it in a way that it's not meant really to be used. And then 5 minutes later, yeah, you could probably do this. So, does that work? Yeah, it worked. And then no one has to watch the place burn down because we figured out the problem. But you're on point always. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, that's all true. And then I think I came into the picture when you guys had been using Trio, when Seven Feathers had Trio, about 6 months or 8 months. But when I showed up and I saw the tool, I was impressed with it. But then Nic and I were having meetings, and I started to ask, well, what if we used it for this? Or what if we tried this? Or what if we, and Nic's like, I don't know. And then we go into a meeting or Zoom of what about this? And then your team, which is great, we're like, well, yeah, we can do that, right? Because the mechanics and the technology is there, so it's just a matter of, well, what do you want to do? What are you trying to do? And
those things are things that we are now a normal part of how we do marketing, but also the guests are so engaged in it. Like there's some things that we do where they'll ask like, wait, I didn't get this yet. They're like, oh, it's okay, it's coming tomorrow. Like, okay, oh, good. I thought I was off the list. Right? Like, yeah, they love it. Yeah. So, and the one thing I kind of want to add on that same note, I was surprised the most about how much of a response we got from our older guests, because I was really worried, like, okay, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off, because, we have a much older demographic. And I was just blown away. Like, I would never expect, little old 100-year-old Gretel to be texting out emojis, like, and picked up fast. And then, the people who are reluctant at first, all of your VIPs, they know each other. And then all of a sudden you see, oh, how did you just book a room? I didn't see you call. Oh, I just texted. Like, they booked it through text, and it's like, yeah. It's like, oh, I don't text. And it's like, well, I will now if I can book a room in 2 minutes. So, like, the word spreads. Right. And it gets faster and faster. So it's great.
Can you talk a little bit about time to value with Trio and what it was like getting your team to adopt it? Because I know a lot of casinos out there that maybe are hearing this have had experiences with tools where maybe they sign up for it and it takes 6 months or a year before it's even live, and getting people trained is a beating. What was it like with Trio?
It was easy and horrifying. So the very first one we had was the most horrifying training session ever, because it took a solid 45 minutes to get everyone just logged in. But the reason is because we're bad at computers. So I'm like, all right, this is a real bad start to this new CRM. And then we actually got into it, and we saw how easy it was, and it's seamless and pretty and very ergonomical. So it's like anytime you think, oh, I wish I could do this now, it's like, okay, well, that button's right there. Like, oh, that button's right there. So you can just start going, and especially when it comes to managing a lot of messages and calls at the same time, that's where it really shines. Because, just sitting there doing your work, answering them as they go is one thing versus, oh, I have 40 people to respond to right now, and it's just me. You're fine. You can answer it seamlessly. And I was so concerned with my team not having a lot of background in computers, and just how fast they took off. Especially, we had a senior host who had terrible computers, could barely just text with his phone, and then all of a sudden answer in Trios like a champ, just because he's got it. It's simple and easy. And it maybe took, after being logged in, took 20 minutes until all the hosts were like, oh, that's cool. And the first time we sent a text blast, that was the cool thing, where it's like, hey, let's tell your new guests that you have a new number, and then you send it off, and it's like, wait, did I do it? And then all of a sudden, a couple of people text back, hey, so glad to hear from you. I'll totally save your new number. And then it's like, cool. Do you want to book a room? Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And it's like, during the training, we're booking rooms, and I'm like, oh, this is the happiest day of my life. Like, this is wonderful. So, but yeah, as far as I can't stress to you how much enough time it saves. And you don't really realize how much busy work you do until you cut out 90% of it. And it's like, oh, wow, like, now I can expect more of my hosts. Sorry, guys, because I know you're not bogged down with administrative stuff. Now you can do what I wanted you to do in the first place, which is to go out there and hunt and develop your players and be the face on the floor, and you're not chained to a desk the entire time. You can book a room laying on your couch sideways. So,
Anita, how about from your perspective? You came in after Trio was already installed. What was your learning curve like?
Well, I had not a lot of experience with other CRMs, but coming into this one, it was very easy to go in there, and I didn't have any training. I would just play in there myself, or call Nick and say, hey, where can I find this, or where can I find that? And either it was really simple, and once I saw it, I had it, or he would go back to you guys and say, hey, Anita wants this.
And boom.
and voila. So it's super easy. And now I know if there's a question or if something comes up, I can just simply go in there. Sometimes I go in there and I look at text messages just to kind of do like an off, every once in a while do a surprise audit, or to go in there and see, look at groups that were made, or to go in there and just see contact information. It's really, really easy. The whole layout of it, there's nothing complicated to it, especially I think for us now, because we've kind of built it and tailored it for us and what we need. So I think that was the nice part of it.
How would you say Trio has helped your team set and attain goals?
Oh, man. Okay, so I love anything you can gamify. And Trio lets you gamify your goals. And you can set your goal and really whatever you want to and monitor however you want to monitor it. So, I mean, if we can set a team goal for, collectively, individual goals, my favorite one's like the podium, the first, second, and third. And there's like almost a little horse race going on as their activity goes. You can see like their little faces moving along this track. And it's like really funny. And then, if you incentivize that, like, oh, whoever's going to win this, like, gets whatever. So the biggest the win we had was right off the bat. I just wanted to see, just out of curiosity, how many rooms could we book in a really slow month, and use the game tool, set the goals. Everyone knew what their goal was. And I set the goal relatively higher than I thought we could hit. And they loved it. And we booked like 50 rooms more than that. And they kind of shot themselves in the foot, because now I know, like, okay, you can do this. So the next month I upped it like another 100 rooms for the month. And they blew that out of the water. So it's like, okay, so it shows you the process, your progress as you go. The hosts see it, they love it. And then what's great is they can set their own goals. And that was really like heartwarming to me. Like, we have these group goals and these individual goals, and then I'm going through checking, the progress on goals, and I see there's all these other goals that are in there. I might make those, and I look at it. They were made by the host personally, and it's not. They can kind of compete with each other over little things. So it's like, okay, you had the most room bookings this week. I can text more people than you can. Like, all right, game on, let's see. And then there's this like little rivalry going on between. I had no idea of. And all the while, all the guests are loving it, and we're booking rooms. So, like, that's wonderful. So, and it's easy to make, and it's fun. And that's the key, is just having something that you want them to do that they enjoy doing. And it's really cute how you guys have set it up.
So you're driving a lot more team productivity with Trio. Is it because they're working 90 hours a week all of a sudden, or are you still able to maintain work-life balance with Trio?
Oh man, we have upped the work-life balance. So it really makes being a host every host knows how hard it is to maintain the life-work balance, because you always have guests, that you care about and that you want to take care of. The first of my weekends where we had Trio go live, I had the entire weekend without a single call or text from any of my guests, which I'd average about 50 conversations a weekend. So I have a 3-day weekend. Not texts or calls, conversations. So when I came back on my Monday, I was biting my nails to see, like, oh man, what happened? And then I go through and I see call after call and text after text and email after email answered, and beautifully, by all of the hosts that were on duty. And it's just, oh, my heart sang, because I got to spend the whole weekend with my my wife and kids and do fun things, and not have to think about worrying about my top tier guests getting into a room on time. So it allows whatever host is on duty to branch out and take care of the problems, to let you have a life. And you still get calls, but now the calls are more like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time, and so-and-so took care of this, but I just wanted to see, how's your cat doing? And it's like, oh, thanks, Linda, my cat's great. So it really makes the interactions that you do have on your weekend less pressing. And even if it's something that really is an emergency, with one text, you can text a host through Trio, not even their personal number. I'll text the host directly into Trio, and they all can see it. Hey, this person texted me, they need this, and then 2 seconds later, I'm on it, and then I can see the confirmation go out to them. So that's the best part, is like, I'm already taking care of it. I know when they handled it. So it just really takes the pressure of always being off a little bit, a lot. So, and it's Trio's changed my wife's life. She always says Trio's my favorite thing, and I want to make you guys a cake. You do not want that cake, but I'll tell her.
Anita, how about from your position as a leader? How do you feel knowing that, one, when your hosts are off, the guests are still taken care of, and then two, that the host team does have more of a work-life balance? How do you feel like that impacts morale, and how do you feel about it as a leader?
Well, I think it's really the best of both worlds, honestly. We want to take care of our employees. We want them to feel like when they have a day off, it's their day off. Because they're not on the clock, right? I mean, they're salaried or they're not salaried or whatever they are, but everybody should have that chance. Not only that, but it's so much better for the guest, right? Like, it doesn't have to be Linda Sue is my host and she has to do every single tiny little thing for me. No, I just want a room. I just want to come play. And my host is out on vacation, or my host has a couple days off, so I don't know if my host is going to answer. So much better on both aspects of it. It really is. So I think the team that we have here really does have good morale, and they really do like the tool, and they have fun using it, like Nic said. Between the goal setting, between a kind of like a little, it's a little bit of a, feels like a little bit magic, right? Like, you know how when we evolve technology and you first use that technology and go, oh, you know, like those of us who are old enough and you remember how the VCR used to take the tape from you, like, ooh, right? Ooh. So it is a little bit magic because it handles it. And like Nic said, he came back that one weekend and it's like, whoa. Everything's answered, you know, everything's handled. You have some couple one-offs you have to follow up on, but it's also all tracked right there. So I think it's really the best of both worlds.
One thing you talked about earlier was freeing up admin time, like Trio, especially at a manager level. You're not having to inspect everything because Trio does a lot of that for you, and it's freed up more time for strategy or long-term thinking. Is there any tool or feature within Trio that really helps you capitalize on that strategic time?
Trip calendar.
Oh, I love the trip calendar. Yeah.
Trip calendar. Trip calendar, it started off as being useful, and then more and more keeps on adding to it, and now it's just like I can't live my life without it. So every time you book rooms, all the hosts book rooms, it shows you how many rooms are booked for that. If you have events coming up, it shows you what events for it. If you have email blasts going out, shows you when they're going out, how long they're lasting, text blasts, all the same way. So you see the calendar and you see all your events and all your staffing and all your rooms booked, and now you're going to do one thing or do this, and you see like, oh wait, I did that, which makes this side a little heavy and this side a little light. And instead of redoing the entire thing, you grab what you want to move to a different day, you set the time and hit go. Just to see your entire multiple marketing campaigns on one calendar and to be able to mix and match it just the way you like. I'll sit there for 20 minutes, just be like, I like this. Let me move this around. And then move things around for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I like that better. I'm going to take a picture of that. I'm going to say, let me move it around. And then finally when I see it all, like, that's beautiful. Like when you see a really beautiful multiple month worth of campaigns, it just makes me so happy. And then to know I don't have to do anything else for this month. I'm just going to let it automate itself. I already know what I'm texting, what I'm writing, who I'm going to, and you just set it and forget it.
I think, and follow up to that, the cool thing is that you can push your planning out further in the calendar, so you're ahead of the game. It's so hard to do in marketing in the gaming world, like, oh my goodness, right? To try to get ahead of the calendar. And so now we're freed up enough, I feel like, that, like he said, we've got everything figured out, like what's the best time to do this and send this. And then now we're working through the summer into fall, and like we're way, like, I don't know how other casinos normally, but it's usually a small group of marketers working really hard, going 90 miles an hour and trying to keep up with a calendar. That's how it's been my whole career. But, and it's not all because of Trio. We have a really great marketing team here. But Trio is a tool that will help free up some time so that you can, like the planning and strategy, the first thing I always go to is go forward, go forward, go forward, because tomorrow is going to be here really fast. And we want to be ready for it.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to not only be ready for it, but we want to maximize what we can do. Like, we want to take advantage of new ideas and new opportunities and new things we can think of. And so I think that's one of the greatest things I like from a 30,000-foot viewpoint. But also, like what he was saying, just the ease of using the calendar and moving things and seeing it. And I can go in on any time and just take a peek at what do we got going out. I don't have to call Nic up, hey, what's this like? And sometimes I do because I'm lazy. But
focused on other things.
Focused on other things. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a nice save. So focused on other things, and it's just very easy to manage, so it allows us to do that.
Once you've booked out your campaigns and you know what you're doing for the next 3 months, you can really focus on just like, okay, this upcoming month, I can kind of fine tune this to make it better. And the best thing I like about Trio is just all the reporting that comes with it. So I see like, okay, this time I did it this way, but I can see exactly how many clicks I got, what kind of response I got, what kind of booking I got for it. And then it's like, okay, well, next time we do this, let's try this. And I can give same people, same situations, and then see how much of an impact it made, where it's like, oh, wow, little tweaks can really ramp up a response. And just to be able to see it all, clear as day, especially there's a lot of new reporting stuff you guys have with campaigns that I feel like I'm getting it from like a professional data center. Like I have how long, when did it become stale? How many I got at the time? What's my, estimated, Theo? It's like, okay, this is a lot of the stuff that I had to do for my job that you guys do for me now. So now I can just try and make this the best it can be. And finding that sweet spot is lots of fun, but also it's so much easier than it has been before because I can see it all, and it's it's real time. Like, okay, this is what we did yesterday, this is what we did last week. We're on the right track, so it's awesome.
Now, Anita, do you look at that marketing campaign screen at all?
Oh yeah, okay. yeah. I look at every one of them. But and not because I need to, but because I like to. I think it's exciting. It's fun. It's, what are we presenting and what's going to be engaging for the guest, right? And that's another thing I would say about Trio is it provides that level of engagement that you're going for nowadays, where you want people to feel something where, with a phone call or old school advertising, you only get certain amount of response and certain amount of engagement. But with Trio now, and the campaign pages in particular, like, it's so flexible and there's so many things we can do with it. It really can be engaging and fun. Everything from the little fun emojis and icons to, whatever you want to put in there. And so that's kind of the thing that I really like about it.
How would you say Trio has impacted your customers' experience with Seven Feathers Casino Resort?
Oh, they love it. Okay, specifically, back to those campaign pages, because you can use them any way you want to, and you can even have them book a room through it. But also, if I want to book a room, I can choose how I want to be contacted. So contact me through email or through a phone call or text, or not at all, and I'll book it myself. So when you have these VIPs, especially when you have, and we all have them, the ones that no matter how much schmoozing you do, they want to be left alone. They're shy, they're quiet, they're loners. So now I don't feel as guilty trying to get in contact with someone who I know is a loner. So I can send it off. They can just look at it, view it, and then choose how they want to be contacted, if at all, or just don't contact me. Yes, I want to go. And it's like, cool, I know that they're in, and also don't talk to me. It scares me. So it takes the pressure off of those ones and everyone else that's just, it's nice for them to see what you're offering, whatever it is, whatever the campaign is, to have that extra little special thing that they only get. It's just for our VIPs. Like, oh, I get special inside scoop about a video about it, or extra info, or let me know that I can park here. I don't have to park over there, So anytime one of those pages go out, they just instantly like, okay, what do I get? What's my special thing? So they love it.
Yeah, I think one of the things to add to that too is the guests love the speed of the communications, right? And that's always what we're trying to do with our guests, is improve that communication. It's like, you want something and then we snap our fingers and you have it. And, it's hard to do when you're grinding it out the old way, but when you have a tool for it, a good CRM tool, it makes that real. And so on the guest end of it, they feel like they've been taken care of faster, that they've been heard, they don't have to wait. So it's an immediate answer for them, and I think that they love it.
And, I'm going to add to that. It's faster, but also it lets us be more accurate. So the worst thing, you're waiting for a response from your host. You don't get one, then you finally get one, and it's like a half answer, or worst case scenario, it's not even accurate. But now we have all of the information right at our fingertips, any one of the hosts. So no matter who you talk to, I can give you an exact answer, and it can be fast. And that's just to be able to get everybody on the same page, especially when a guest randomly texts in, "Hey, are we all set for Friday?" You're like, what happened Friday? And then you look at the screen like, oh, yeah, we're all set for Friday. Yeah, you're good to go. I'll see you there. Thumb up emoji, So that's the speed and accuracy of it. It really, I hate that, okay, depending on who you talk to is the answer you're going to get. Now, I can see every answer that's been given across the board, from the dawn of time, so.
And you touched on like speed of response. Before Trio, I guess how you obviously want your team to be responding faster to your VIP players, but there was no way to track it. I guess how does that give you peace of mind as a leader that like now you actually have tangible data on how quickly you're getting back to players?
Yeah, I think the hosts appreciate it too. You know, it's never the idea that, oh, our hosts are lazy and they don't want to call people or they're not being truthful. It's not that so much as it is the host can be, I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but the host can clearly and easily see their progress, and like they can be immediately recognized and rewarded for it. So that's part of it too, I feel like. And it's good for the team morale because everybody's on the same boat. Everybody's in the same place, and there's not any kind of view of, well, this person just says this, but they really don't do that. And this person says this, but they really don't do that. Everybody has the same accountability, the same metrics, the same everything. And so when we come in there and we're looking at minutes to respond or hours to respond, we see it for everybody. And you can't argue with it. It is what it is. And so then you know what you have and you know what you can work with. So it's really helpful on that. And I know that the customers feel it on their end as well.
It helps support the team anytime something comes up. We're like, oh, this was supposed to get done and this didn't get done. It's like, okay, give me 2 seconds. I'll look in Trio, and it's like, that's why it didn't get done. Look at all this stuff that was going on. Like, so now, you know, a host will send me an email like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get this done because, like, I don't even need to read the because, and I'll already start, hey, I know you had a crazy busy day. You know, you booked 400 rooms this weekend. Like, you're a machine. Like, you know, kudos. Here's a coffee card. Like, so it really just it helps you paint a picture about what your whole team's doing, and also like empathize where it's like, man, this was a tough day. I could see this was a tough day. So, you know, it lets you kind of flag like, hey, like, I'm worried about this person getting burnt out because look at how much work they did yesterday. Like, today's a something special day. Let me do something special for you. So, and I don't have to do digging or read through all the subtext of what you're saying. I can just see it. So it's morale boost.
Well, Nic and Anita, thank you so much for your time. You two are, and the property as a whole, are just driving innovation. Y'all are so fun to work with, and I really appreciate you taking time to talk about Trio with me.
Thank you, Craig.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming out.
Love it out here.